Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Power Shift seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which every card in our starting deck gets its base power set to its provision cost, which makes low power, high provision cost cards way stronger than usual. And I'm recording this on Halloween, so this deck is cursed. Let's go give it a look. And I'm recording this on Halloween, so you know we have to use a cursed deck for this one, and we are quite literally building around the cursed archetype using the new Princess Adda card, because whenever we play a cursed unit, she will get boosted by that unit's base power. And since every unit generally has way more base power in this event, that makes Adda an even bigger card than usual. We do not have devotion, so she will not have immunity, and there is a lot of tall removal in this event, so we do need to be careful when we play her, but when she sticks, she can be worth a ton of points and absolutely can win you around. Other than that, we have amazing power shift cards like Triss Meteor Shower, which is by most accounts the best card in this event. Adda, as we were just talking about. Syanna, ideally to set up one of those huge Triss Meteor Showers to double boost or double damage your opponent. Then we have a couple of Geralts for tons of tall removal because there are lots of tall cards in this event. Royal Decree for more consistency. Olgierd, mostly a Reavers counter, but is a high base power curse unit to set up Adda as well. Obviously, Reavers did just get a humongous nerf in the most recent Balanced Council vote, but they are still equally good in this event, so still important to have Olgierd for that reason. Donimir is the primary way we are protecting Adda. Granted, he could also get Tull removed, but at that point, hopefully, that means our opponents have less ways to answer Adda. Vandergrift, big curse card, and resilience for carryover. Seltkirk, another curse card, and because he has higher base power, that means his dueling ability is even stronger than usual. We don't have a ton of boosts, and we don't have any ways to give him shields, so can't get amazing value on him, but the base power alone is reason enough for him to be a big factor. And a Strenger, another curse unit. This is one of the few ways we have to get boosts in our deck. Redanian Secret Service, another way if Adda gets locked for us to purify her or anything else that needs to be purified. Red Haze, with all the high power cards, easier to get more value from this. Cursed Knight is actually weaker for this event since his 6 base power gets bumped down to 4. However, the deploy ability is amazing for Adda because the card that you target with that ability is what determines how many boosts Adda gets rather than Cursed Knight's power. So basically, use Cursed Knight to activate Geralt, turn him into cursed units, and then suddenly you're getting a 10-point boost on Adda rather than a 4-point boost from the Cursed Knight. Kaedweni Revenant is mostly a throwaway. It did get buffed in the most recent patch, although, once again, that doesn't actually affect the power shift event, but there are not very many low power cards, so it's hard to get the death blow, but, you know, maybe you can still find a way to make this work. Pellar, more purification, if necessary. Banner, a little bit of thinning, a little bit of consistency. Again, not a ton of boost, so a little bit hard to get that thinning, but theoretically helps you get a little bit more consistency. Redanian Knight, stronger than usual, easier to get the Grace, and is also an engine, and a little bit more boosts. And then Redanian Elite is considerably stronger than it usually is in this event, which makes it a decent points land for us. So there's a look at the deck, and basically it is about getting humongous points from Princess Adda, and then having lots of tall removal from the Geralts, and either boosts or amazing removal / damage from Triss Meteor Shower. Now let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Alright, so we have Adda. We have a Cursed Knight to help set up Adda if we can use this on some high base power cards, whether they're cursed or not. So one of the Geralts would probably be the best option there. We do have some things that are already cursed, most notably a Strenger. Kaedweni Revenant, mostly a throwaway in this deck because it's pretty hard to get the death blow on that, so we might dump you here. Triss Meteor Shower is definitely an upgrade. That now becomes the best target for a Cursed Knight. And Banner with Strenger should be possible to get the thinning there. Obviously, we have some flexibility with Royal Decree as well. Donimir definitely helps to protect Adda since we do not have Devotion, so she does not have immunity. So I think this should work. We do have some big cards, but it's a matter of how we allocate these cards since we probably need to save some of them for round 2 or round 3. Okay, Van Moldheim Hunter. Obviously nothing for it to go after, but it does make a bit of a statement. One would assume that means they have a lot of statuses. So, fortunately, we do have a Redanian Secret Service that could end up being relevant. If we think we're going Adda round 1, that means we're going to need to break out Donimir immediately. Otherwise, Adda is likely to get answered via some kind of status control or with a Geralt of their own. So, I think we might look to go with Donimir right away. Of course, Donimir will attract some attention, and he very well may get answered. You can see the movement in their hand. Looks like they have Sunset Wanderers, so that means we should have at least one good target for base Geralt. Potentially Igni might be able to hit that too. Alright, it's fur cart. It is statuses, not exact. Okay, well, that's what I expected to see. Not necessarily fur cart, but okay, so now that becomes much more complicated because Adda is very vulnerable without a defender and without the immunity. So might want to get a better sense first about what they might be trying to do here. You know, was this just a coincidence, or are they actually going to be doing more statuses? The lock is actually not a big deal because we have that Redanian Secret Service. It's more so the Geralts that are our bigger fear. CD Mirror with 1 unit on the board. Okay, and that does get out Redanian Secret Service, which is not really the timing we were looking for that, because we don't particularly need to use it on Redanian Knight, and now they could just lock Redanian Secret Service directly. But I was kind of thinking we wanted to break out Adda soon, so that we could then use Strenger, which is the only cursed card, or the one of 2 cursed cards we have directly in hand. This we're going to use to convert something else into a cursed card that is high base power. So, I mean, I think we're doing this. Basically, if you get locked, we're good, but then again, they could go after Redanian Secret Service. Geralt means we're in bigger trouble because there's no way to stop that, of course. Red Haze is, oh, it's a Matic deck. Interesting. Okay, not necessarily what I was expecting, but Red Haze is very good in this event, so good to see them use one of those. They almost certainly have a second one, though. Okay, so we would like to get Strenger out here. And we may also want to purify Adda. Well, it's not a huge deal if they say we're to coup on her and create a copy of themselves. Don't think that's going to be worth very much for them. So why don't we use Strenger? This will give Adda a big boost, which means if they were to Red Haze, they could remove Strenger. I think we're going to have to live with that. Alright, so technically it wasn't a Geralt, it was Leo. But one of the reasons why Nilfgaard is so good in this event is because they have the best tolerable in the game. So they have Leo, they may still have a whole bunch of Geralts. Fortunately, we could go after Leo with one of our Geralts, but as I was saying before, we need to be careful how much we commit in round 1, because Adda was going to be one of our win conditions. And now that we no longer have her, we may need to be especially protective of our Geralts. So I think what we might do here is just keep it simple. Get the thinning by putting you next to Strenger. And we may now be looking at letting them win this round. They might be about to pass because this Sunset Wanderers is about to come out from their hand, and they might be trying to save that. They will play, though. They'll get the Darlin Soldiers out. Does Sunset Wanderers comes out here. Okay, so obviously that could be a good card for us to go after with either Geralt at this point, since that is definitely a big enough row for Igni. But I think at this point... Oh, and that's the Donimir they stole from us. I think at this point, this is a decent time for us to stop. That way we're still holding on to the best cards we have left. We'll want to mulligan out of Cursed Knight, and we're mostly looking for probably Syanna, if we can get her. Would be great. Maybe Vandergrift could be our throwaway in the next round, if they give us the chance to do that. So let's pass here. Alright, so they did play one more card than us in round 1, which means they might drive past, giving us a 1 throwaway card, and Vandergrift would be perfect for that. Not a big fan of Cursed Knights anymore, because those were almost entirely for Adda support, and we've already used Adda, so let's get rid of them. And Red Haze could be useful, but the key question here is how aggressively, if at all, are they going to push in this round? They will drive past. Okay, so I think the answer is definitely Vandergrift. Do we have any rope preferences here? One good card that we have not yet seen is Seltkirk. We would like to play him in round 3, possibly with our leader ability. He is row locked to the melee row. We would love to get him some buffs from Triss Meteor Shower, so if we were to set up for Triss Meteor Shower, we might want to have people in the melee row. That's my thought process for that. And we do still have Royal Decree as well, so that can be a way to get some of our other big cards. Alright, so That's about as well as it could have gone for us in round 2. Okay, but please stop giving us the Cursed Knights now. Don't... okay, please stop giving us the Cursed Knights now. Okay, Syanna is big. That was the card that I was thinking we were going to use Royal Decree to get. Now, at this point, we could use that to get Seltkirk. Otherwise, we could always use a leader ability to get him. We may not need all of our leader ability charges in this case, because we do have what is more or less the best possible hand we could have at this point. Maybe Kaedweni Revenant would be the card we dump, depending on if we do find ourselves with a good target for that. Let's get the Redanian Knight out here early, since that is an engine. Earlier we played, the better. As I was saying, to the extent that we can, we'd probably like to row stack melee row, so that we can set ourselves up for a bigger Triss Meteor Shower, and combine that with Seltkirk. Alright, Piper Witcher Alchemist. We have a bunch of low cards. Good. And they found one of those. I was going to say, if they happened to get Seltkirk, that would have been unfortunate, but they did not. Okay, so we have our engine on the board. Most of our other stuff is not exactly very engine-y. So Olgierd is kind of the odd card out here. It was going to be Adda support. It's also Reaver's counter. Obviously, we're not about to face off against Reavers here, so you're kind of a throwaway, and we might just put you down, put you next to the Redanian Knight. You aren't going to get boosted by the Grace. Put you in the melee row. You aren't going to get boosted by Triss Meteor Shower. Whoever we put you next to, they might use their other Red Haze, in which case maybe we deliberately put you next to Vandergrift, so that doesn't work very well. Okay, there's the Donimir. Now, both of us have 2 cards at 9 power in one row, which means the Igni setup is close to working fairly well, but not quite at that threshold for them, and we need to be careful that we don't walk into an 18-point Igni removal setting up for them. So, we might want to get some cards on either side of Redanian Knight just so we can get a little more boost there, although, to be honest, you know, this is missing out on 1, maybe 2 points worth of boost if we don't put stuff there, whereas the boosts from Triss Meteor Shower have a lot more potential than that. So we might still go Kaedweni Revenant melee row for that reason. And I might sandwich you in between these two in case they Red Haze. Well, I guess we still want to go here then. In either way, if they want to Red Haze to remove you, they can. If they want to use any other bomb to remove you, they can. Oh, it's Ake. Okay. He is very good in this event. Cheap form of removal. No Zeal. They are now in Igni range. It is 18 points of removal. It is not quite lined up to get rid of Ake, which stinks, because if we could get all 3 of those removed, unquestionably it would have been worth it. If we can get rid of Donimir, I mean, at the moment, Ake could remove either of these 2, which is not the end of the world if he does that. Yes, they're high base power cards, but they aren't really doing much long-term besides just being targets for Triss. So maybe we don't rush this, because there's also no way for us to immediately remove you anyway. So if that were the case, I mean, we just wouldn't want to play anything big on this turn anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think it might be Igni nonetheless. I think it might still be Igni here. You do this. We now have access to the melee row because they no longer have Defender. We are in Igni range in this row, but rather than removing 18 points worth of cards, they're instead removing 10, which is better. They're capable of using Ake to remove something. As for whether they decide to, they do, obviously. They do have their own Defender, which does stink. We could obviously go after that with base Geralt, which it's 15 points of removal. That is good. And if we're trying to set up Seltkirk later on, I think we probably do need to do that, because otherwise Seltkirk is going to have no choice but to duel you, and we probably don't want that. So I think it is worth doing this. And we're going to need to get Seltkirk out here in the relatively near future. But the other reason why we keep removing the Defenders is because we have 2 Red Hazes in hand. So if we want to get any value out of that, we're going to need to make sure they don't have Defenders. Otherwise, that's going to make it really tough. Oh, also, Kaedweni Revenant was going to be the card we were going to swap out for leader ability, which might end up being a Red Haze instead. Alright, that's actually not bad. Obviously, we're not getting the boosts anymore on the Redanian Knight. Got some value from it, but we now have more cards in this row where we're trying to set up the Triss Meteor Shower boost, so it's not a terrible thing. So I think now, let's see, if we're trying to go Seltkirk, Syanna, Triss are probably the last 3 cards we play in that order. That means we'd be looking at a Red Haze now. We obviously can't use Red Haze right now, so I think that means this is leader ability. Switching Red Haze into... Do we have reason to purify right now? Not really. Let's... Guess we'll go Redanian Elite. It's the biggest direct point slam. I think we actually are going to run out of space in our melee row if we continue to play stuff there, especially once the volunteers spawn in, so I'm going to deliberately play you range row instead. Also, because if we did... Okay, saw this coming a mile away. And now it is back to an 18-point Igni, so that means it might make sense to, play something a little bit bigger there. Originally, I was thinking it would be Seltkirk, then Syanna, then Triss Meteor Shower. Except that, problem there is Seltkirk next turn means 4 cards tied at 9 power for ridiculous Igni value. I did not even see this Redanian Knight was also at 9 power. So, yeah, no, we need to break that up. So I think it needs to be... And it could be leader ability, get another Redanian Elite down there, but I think it's just a preemptive Syanna. We are accepting the fact that she might get answered here. Because it's earlier than I would have liked to have played her. Also, this Matic is going to remove the boost on you, but we basically were accepting that that was a possibility as soon as we played you. False Siri will come back to their side very quickly. What is their... Okay. Did not remember what tactic they had. They actually do have a 1 power card for the Revenant to go after, for what it's worth. Leader ability as well. Uh-oh. Unfortunately, they do not have things lined up well for Triss Meteor Shower. They'll also go for Royal Decree instead. If it's Igni... No, it's not Igni. Okay, it's movement. They have a lot of anti-Reavers cards. I think it's pretty clear that that was one of their intentions, was to play around Reavers. Okay. So now we have 2 cards tied up for 10 power in the range row, and this is in Igni range, so I think we need to act on the assumption that this could get Igni'd on this turn, which does stink, because we really want to get Seltkirk on the board before we use Syanna plus Triss Meteor Shower. So, can we afford to risk waiting 1 more turn? I mean, we play Seltkirk melee row, and then we once again have the 4 cards lined up at 9 power there, which does really stink. Okay, I think we're going with a Triss Meteor Shower 1 turn earlier than I had hoped to do, or at least 1 card earlier than I'd hoped to do it. So we're going to do it here. Really wanted to wait on that so that we... Okay, please. Oh, right, we do it twice. Also, I really want to hit that Revenant. Por favor. There we go. Technically doing that first would have been better. But yeah, the concern there was that one of their next cards is going to be Igni. Now it's considerably worse. It's going to remove 19 points, which I guess technically is more value in the immediate term. But we would have had less bodies on the board, which would have meant that Triss Meteor Shower would have been less effective. Wanted to wait to use Triss Meteor Shower so that we could have gotten more time to set up a bigger Seltkirk. So now that's the biggest sacrifice, really, is that it just means we're accepting we're going to have a smaller Seltkirk, which is what we're going to have to break out now, so we have time to use his order ability, but they realize at this point they cannot catch us, so maybe a good thing that we did break out that Triss nice and early. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here, and we'll go first. And I know Reavers just got absolutely battered in the most recent balance patch, but I'm pretty sure with Inspired Zeal, this is going to be Reavers deck, because in this event, they are still... unfortunately, very good. So, I mean, they're completely unaffected by the most recent patch. Let's dump Redanian Elite, I think. Cursed Knight. We don't have any great targets. We can potentially use it on Syanna. Does Syanna have any good targets here? Not really, to tell you the truth. I think we might dump the Revenant and get another Revenant. Okay, and a Strenger. Alright, so if it is going to be Reavers, then getting Curse Scroll out here to give us Olgierd could be useful. Usually, the thing that makes Reavers so annoying is that since it does not take a lot of provision investment to get Reavers, they can also basically include any and every way to stop us from running counter maneuvers. But let's start with Donimir, just because I do want to ideally get Adda down, I think, in this round, and then we'll maybe look to break out the Geralts in a later round if we get them, although granted, we have none in hand, and Royal Decree is currently our only way, along with maybe Cursed Scroll to make that happen. Belahoon is weird in this event. That's not a great move, I would have to think. Alright, so I think now we get down Adda, and she'll be a pretty huge engine for us. Okay, Redanian Archer gets a small boost. I mean, you have Devotion. We now know this, which is actually very important because we do not have Devotion, which means Adda does not have immunity, which means she would be very susceptible to things like Geralts, but they don't have any Geralts. We now know. So let's get Anna Strenger down here because there aren't any Reavers that we have to mess with just yet, and this is a cursed unit. So that is useful, and you could potentially even make the case for boosting up Donimir here, to tell you the truth, because we know no Geralts, so we're okay with boosting up Donimir a bit, and Adda's already going to get boosted a lot from just playing the cursed units. Okay, Caraballista, more damage, so again, looks like a good idea to protect Donimir here. Now, if we could get the thinning on... Did we have... Yeah, we have a Dun banner here, so dropping that down at some point would be really useful. These Redanian Knights are obviously engines as well, so there is something to be said for getting one of those down early. Would also like to get Vandergrift potentially going here. I think we might save Syanna, especially because we don't have a great target for her to combine with at the moment. Those would ideally be the Geralts. Maybe it's Royal Decree. I think, tell you what, let's use this to... Oh. I mean, Triss would be great. I think we take Triss rather than a Geralt, come to think of it. We'll dump one of those Redanian Knights. Let's play the other, I think. And we'll put you here. There is a strong case to be made for putting you next to on the other side of Anna Strenger, so that you can get up to that Grace 8 more quickly, and then boost up Anna Strenger. She becomes inspired, but as we can see here, they are very keen on getting rid of Donimir, which is why I did not choose to do that. So now maybe what we'll do is it's a little preemptive for the Dun banner, but it'll be a, what, 3 turns or ish until this Redanian Knight hits Grace, and that could be the way that we get the thinning on you. That wouldn't be bad. Otherwise, we could hide Vandergrift here for the time being. I don't think we're going to get you up to Grace in this round, but maybe next round we will. Alright, sure. We'll do this. Row stacking a lot here. That will also buff up Adda considerably. But again, with no Geralts, we are less concerned about being punished for that row stacking. He'll pass here. Okay. So, in that case, won't have a great opportunity to use Dun Banner. We do get the carryover on Vandergrift, so that's useful. And Adda has won us around. Alright, and we draw into both of our Geralts, so that's awesome. We also draw into Olgierd, who would have been our best anti-Reavers card. Still not 100% sure if they are a Reavers deck or not. Obviously, they didn't play any in round 1, but it could just be that they were trying to be clever and waiting to break that stuff out. Let's get rid of Cursed Knight, because this is almost entirely just for Adda support, and we have already used Adda. Redanian Elite is stronger in this event, could just be a point slam. It's not a terrible idea, since we basically have one throwaway card, and that's it right now. Don't have a great way to set up Dun Banner anymore, I don't think. Might even just get rid of you. Seltkirk is a really good card, so especially since we have Vandergrift on the board right now. Let's just take a second to think about what Royal Decree is going to be for, because we basically just drew into all of our best cards. We absolutely did draw into all of our best cards. Could we potentially push just a little bit here? Maybe drop a Redanian Knight next to Vandergrift. That's not going to be enough to get you to Grace. Yeah, I really was hoping we'd have a longer round 1 to... I guess, well, Triss Meteor Shower could still do it. I'm not sure we're going to go long enough for that to become a factor. let's use Royal Decree here. I would usually be more protective of it, but since we basically have all of our best cards already, and we still have both leader ability charges, not too much of an issue. Redanian Archer is, of course, potentially a good way to combat this Redanian Knight, although they go for Vandergrift instead. So they do have a lot of damage. That means Redanian Elite could also be a card they could do a fair bit to stop, but tempo-wise, they are not keeping pace here. Obviously, the 9-point Vandergrift certainly helped in that regard, so we could just drop you, maybe put you next to the Redanian Knight, and that way, if this does go unanswered for a little bit, we have a way to generate just a few more points, and this might be the last card we play, because now we are at the risk, if they are able to put up a whole bunch of points in one turn, they could cause us to go a card down in round 3, so we need to be a little bit careful now. Okay, Margarita, who are they locking? Should probably be... Okay, they are really concerned about Vandergrift getting this grace to regain his resilience, but you brought out Redanian Secret Service, gave us some thinning, and 6 points on the board in this event is not bad either. So we could look to play a little bit further, because suddenly they've kind of given us more reason to push than I had expected for us to receive. So maybe what we'll do here is... we don't have good Geralt usage. Olgierd, still no indication of any Reavers, and I would think they would have broken them out at this point, given how we've gone a fair bit into the round now. So we're going to have to use something relatively big here. I think it might even be Seltkirk. That obviously means we are committing to playing at least one more turn. I'm going to hold off on using the Purification on you, because it's not strictly necessary yet. And if they lock or do something else to Seltkirk, then we could instead Purify you, which might be worth doing. Boiling Oil on Seltkirk would be smart. Yep, okay. Fair enough. So now Seltkirk, alright. Not great at this point. And, Triss Meteor Shower would be the only way to make him particularly relevant, but that's not really necessary on this occasion, I don't think. I think we would still, if anything, be looking for a range row Triss. We would Purify first, and then we would get the Grace on Vandergrift, but that could be a way to, in a short round 3, give us carryover to be a difference maker. So I think at the moment, we're basically just stalling. Olgierd, he won't get buffed by Triss, so there's kind of no reason to put him in the range row. I guess we'll just put him down here, and is it even worth clicking Vandergrift here? You hit for 3, and then you'll get destroyed. We can potentially shut down Redanian Archer, deal 1 damage, but turn off the engine. That might still be worth doing, if we think this round is going to go a fair bit longer. Since we have a large enough lead here... Oh, and there is the Grace going off. Since we have a large enough lead here, I don't think we need to be super nitpicky about those types of things. We are, of course, getting a little clever with the Redanian Secret Service. Their own Redanian Knight. They took a little while to break it out, though. So ours has had more time to gain value. And still no good use for the Geralts here. So, we could break out Syanna, who would be another way to make an even stronger Triss Meteor Shower, and we probably would want to use Triss on our very next turn if we were to do that, because otherwise we run the risk of Syanna getting answered, and that's not really something we want to have happen. Could still be able to unlock with the Redanian Secret Service if we absolutely need to, so I think we're still okay with that, but at this point we're committing pretty heavily to this round. And since we have all of our big cards in hand, that looks good. It does mean if we are unsuccessful pushing in this round, then round 3 could be a little bit tricky. That's why we're going to be relying pretty heavily on that resilience from Vandergrift to do the job for us. And they're engineing up, but when you create a copy, it does not get the extra base power from Power Shift, so that means that Redanian Knight is much further behind, and this late on in the round is not doing too much. So I'm also kind of hoping if they could just get something up high enough for one of the Geralts so that we can stall for one more turn, that would be great. But I think we're kind of going to have to make our move right here, right now. So let's go Redanian. So it means that Triss is not going to have quite as many targets as I would ideally like, but I think if we do... So you still have... Once upon a time you had initiative. You don't anymore. Okay. So do that so that now you will get the resilience when we do this. We're going to go range row. And we're going to boost everyone here. You regain the resilience, so... Oh, right, we do it twice. I forgot about that. So yeah, would have been worth even more points if we already had some 10 base power Geralts in that row. Ultimately, I don't really think that's going to make too much of a difference. We could pass right now. We know they don't have any Geralts, which is another reason why I felt okay making what is a pretty aggressive round 2 push here, because knew they were unlikely to have many good answers. They still are out of either Geralt's range, so I think we pass here. Might be a little bit tough to get the actual removal on these Geralts in round 3, but at this point, it's basically coming down to just our high tempo play, and this may very well turn into a 2-0. Egmont, I mean, it's more engines late on in the round, which is not a situation they wanted to be in. We technically do still have one engine going. Redanian Mauler, that's not going to be good enough. And a bunch of low provision cost cards here, which makes it look like they just did not draw into the things they really wanted or needed. So at this point, I don't think it's possible for them to catch us. So we will get the 2-0 win with 2 cards to spare, even after all their orders. We'll take the win. So there's a look at a Cursed Northern Realms Adda deck for the new Power Shift seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. And take a look at our Power Shift playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well. And take a look at our video overviewing the changes from the first Balance Council vote. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.